So, all scientific publications are mandatory to be based on a non-profit purpose background?
That's also a really interesting question, Daniela. Yeah, no, of course not. There are those studies, project experiments that are supported by big companies, and they attend to a conflict of interest. The authors, when we submit a paper to a journal, we have to fill it up a form in which we have to confirm that our publication has any conflict of interest or not. Okay. There are several examples of that. For instance, if we go to, like any big company, any pharmacy company which develop drugs or medicines, so they will have a really like a research laboratory or a research program, and the goal for such a type of research projects are simply, they want to improve their products in order to be more competitive, and of course selling to society, and of course doing more money. And that is a simple fact. So, and then the rest of the, every serious company which operates globally, worldwide, they will do research, and of course they will have a conflict of interest. But, and this is not a sign like a scientific publication's limitations, because we are addressing this question, in this video series blog, in this episode, and it's more, I see it more like an advantage. I'm gonna explain that with an example. Okay, so there are some pressures from different sectors of society that extraordinary circumstances can make several pressures to push scientifics, to push scientists, to push labs, to push research projects to develop something that is going to have a positive effect on society. For instance, a few years ago, I think it was in 2020, when we have the SARS-CoV-2 pandemic. Okay, so those governments, whatever health ministries, especially from countries where they have big pharmacy companies which develop drugs or medicines, and they were pushing so hard to them for just bringing out a vaccine for trying to diminish the spread of the virus. And that was a reality. We were in a rush condition. So, but of course, when you push too hard, then you have to publish this, and you have to do such experiment. Of course, because it's a human experiment, a human control experiment. I think there were like 4 phases before and then all of them had to be successfully approved or successfully tested before it came out to the market, and we used those basins for population. And so now, for me, the advantage of scientific publications. If you go to PubMed, database, you will find, and if you enter words like, or terms like drawbacks, or adverse effects on patients who have been inoculated with the SARS-CoV-2 vaccine, you will find such a huge number of papers from published in top journals from top worldwide labs. I mean, they are serious on that. So, and this is the advantage. So there is not a consensus. I'm not here making a criticism or a critic to the SARS-CoV-2 vaccine. No, I mean that there is not a consensus. And this is an advantage of science. I mean, not all time we have to report results which coincide with previously published reports or studies. And for that we replicate. So José Antonio López Calvet and colleagues, they carry out an experiment in Mount Chacaltaya, Bolivia, because they wanted to understand, between some other variables, what was the third respiratory cascade effects when lowlanders and highlanders were under exercising conditions. Okay, I can back, or I can try to replicate such experiments in similar conditions, Mount Chacaltaya or somewhere in Chile, whatever, with similar material, of course, same methodology, and then maybe, because my results were different, I can publish these results, and there won't be a consensus. Okay, my results are different from another research group. So, and the most important is that we can also, because in science there has to be always the replication instrument, because we want to, we have to argue in science. It's science when you argue and there is an absolute truth, then you make science. Science is just developing, okay? It has to be like a continuous of developing when you reach new fundings and you share with scientific community, okay? So this is something that I wanted to clarify in this part of the question. Then then we have to understand that there is economy goes in front of science. This war, this capitalist and at some point materialist war, economy will run in front of science, ahead of science. And I'm gonna give two examples because we are talking about conflict of interest. Okay, for instance, the example of the running shoes technology, when they compare carbon shoes technology with light shoes, that there are some research, some studies that observed a increase in performance of about 3.5%. With the shoe that Kipchoge was using, I think was in, I don't remember, I think for Chicago Marathon. I know it was the Alpha Fly, no, the Vaporfly next, and they were comparing with extra cushioned shoes, and the difference was 3.5%. Okay. And Nike or some other companies, Adidas, Asics, whatever, okay, they want to sell more shoes. So they mindful about these results, and we are not argue against this. They have tested, okay, the statistical analysis proved that with a P below 0.05, whatever, with effect size, okay, perfect. But if we read, for instance, anatomy of movement textbooks, for instance, the most famous Sobota, very famous in medicine and physiotherapy, or Kapanji's, that's a more classic one, but very famous in sports science. We can read clearly that fit and instability will increase the risk of Achilles tendon tear, and some ligaments like ACL ligament of the knee or collateral, external collateral ligament of the knee. Okay, because with this instability you're gonna, increase, or you will tend to increase your feet inversion, pronation, feet eversion, supination, or supine movement. So this is, and it has been tested that these shoes increase the feet and stability. But for these companies, they won't tell you that part. They want to sell shoes. So the most important part for humans, okay, and for me the most important part is to prevent, okay, or to preserve health status. They want info about that. And I have been talking in social media about doping. It's about the same. I mean, there are some critics about this method. We estimate that the probability for that athlete to use recombinant erythropoietin, it's a protocol which has been tested, and there are people, or there are some critics when someone tested positive and they start to question that method. That method has been proven with a scientific experiment and has been supported by stats. Okay, but I tell, because of doping, because we are talking about conflict of interest, Kenya has I'm speculating a bit on numbers because I didn't look on that in depth, but the average in Kenya since a few years ago, it's a doping case or a doping banned athlete every week. And I think it's even higher than that. But it's not been banned, and I told that World Athletics should be banned in Kenya. And I told World Athletics, you have to be clear, because the facts are clear. But Kenya has a really famous athlete, okay, which is sponsored by a sportwear company, and they sell millions of dollars of sports shoes and apparel because of this athlete. So what I told you, the economy goes ahead of science. All right, and now our last example. All right, I'm gonna talk about the experiment, the study that I carry out with my friends Gabriel Brizuela and Juan Manuel Alonso. Okay, we wanted to understand if there were any differences between the three different racing wheelchair frames that are being used by racing wheelchair athletes as myself. Because a carbon racing wheelchair frame costs $40,000 or 35,000 euros. And of course, not all athletes, especially from countries from South America, Africa, Spain, because we don't have that yearly average income as high as some other countries that maybe use these racing wheelchair frames. Okay, we wanted to test that, because then if there will be differences, okay, especially an advantage with the carbon frames compared to the other two frames, carbon aluminum frames, $14,000 average, or aluminum frames, $5,000 average, then this should be understand, or these frames should be considered prototypes. And if something good has World Athletics, is that runners are not allowed to take part in a race with a prototype. In fact, for instance, Helen Obiri was DQ'd after running Istanbul half marathon because he was running a prototype shoes. So he was DQ'd. In racing wheelchair, this is not happening. I'm going to explain why. We found differences. We found almost the double, okay, 2 times the difference that with Kipchoge's running shoes, the Nike Alpha Fly, compared to the light shoes, okay, 3.5%. We found differences between carbon and aluminum carbon of 5.1%. Okay, and between carbon and aluminum, between carbon and aluminum carbon, we found the biggest difference. The biggest difference, it was 6.2%. Okay, I think it was 6.2, over 6%. And between carbon and aluminum, we found a 5.1%. Okay, because is it not fair? Someone which is using carbon compared to carbon aluminum or aluminum, we mention this word. We mention in the paper that these racing wheelchair frames should be considered as technological doping. Okay? And it even is defining the technological doping definition term is defined in the paper. And we send these results to the International Paralympic Committee. In fact, we send to the body which governs athletics for Paralympic athletes. And this is and they did not ban it. Even they did not answer us telling that the rules would be reviewed and that there will be a new there will be new rules for the use of carbon frames, because we gave those two, we suggest them you should ban the use, you should prohibit the use of racing with the carbon racing with your friend, or you might you know, create a timing system based in our modeling. Okay, so athletes using aluminum should start whatever time in front of the carbon racing wheelchair frame athletes, and the same with aluminum carbon wheelchair. But there was a conflict of interest, or is there a conflict of interest in this field of the racing with friends? Yeah, of course, I have mentioned that, or if I don't mention, I mention right now. Those carbon racing with friends are designed and they are sold by Honda, Toyota, and Sauber. Okay, and of course they won't sell, or this market won't be millionaire as the one which is involving the running shoes, but there is a lot of money behind. And the most important, there is an ethic point that we cannot forget, and is that athletes, when they are in the start line, they have to start in the same condition. The equity principle in a sport has to be respected. Other than that, I mean, you are ruining the sport. I mean, we can clearly say that athletes running with carbon racing with their friends are running under doping conditions compared to those not using those friends, because they are running under a situation of disadvantage. They are taking part in a race with a material which increase their performance in a greater manner compared to others, and that is technological doping definition. Okay, so I think with that is really, I mean, the question has been clarified, and I have tried to be with those examples quite clear. So Daniela, I think with this answer we will invite our audience to you know, to get updated. I mean, not to get updated, to stay tuned to our YouTube channel, because next week, after my return from Japan, we will follow with these scientific publications, limitations, topic, and we will start to talk about some other interesting things like statistical reports, if it's harder to publish statistical reports, and even what type of statistical report have a really rough moment with editorials from journals. Okay, so I think it's time to say bye, and I hope to meet you in the next post, and you can send the email, any comments, concerns, suggestions to the email that is been highlighted in our YouTube channel. So thanks to everyone.